Hi there, today we're going to talk about the Skyward Omnibus from Image. The Skyward Omnibus from Image collects the 3-trade story of Skyward from Image Comics. It follows the story of a young woman called Willa, who lives in a world where gravity has stopped working. People and things will just float away unless they are tied down. This all happened on G-Day, and her father predicted this might happen, and unfortunately her mother went up in the air while her and her father were in the house. She was only a little baby at the time, and her father has lived with that guilt all the time and has become a shut-in. Now, Willa, being a baby at the time of G-Day, has just grown up with this new sort of paradigm and just gets on with her life. There are some people who benefit from G-Day, such as people who are paralysed from the waist down or don't have legs, and now they find that they're on equal footing, upon the pun, with the fully able-bodied. But there are others who obviously want to return to normal because there are new dangers and new hazards. We'll talk more about that as we go through the book. There'll be some spoilers in this, but I'll try and avoid the sort of big spoiler at the end, the twists. But let's have a look at the book and the artwork and see what we think. Okay, so we have got Skyward Omnibus by Joe Henderson, art by Lee Garbett and Antonio Fabela. As I said before, this collects the 3 trades from the series, and it is a complete story, even with a little epilogue at the end. Just looking at the hardcover here, you've got no dust jacket, which is pretty standard for Image, to be honest. I think the only one I've seen with a dust jacket is the Wayward one. Nothing particularly, fancy on the front or back. Just got some nice artwork there. You can't tell looking at it here, but it's got the this is matte and then this is glossy. The actual outline of Willa is all nice and glossy. But open it up, you've got a nice yellow liner page, introduction there from Kelly Thompson, and then you're straight into the story, and you get the covers on the start of the issues, or chapters as they call it here. The first thing to say is it's got a really nice sewn binding. It opens up great and it feels solid. The pages as well are thick, I mean really quite thick, and it just adds to that feeling of quality. But look, you've got the start of, this is her mum here, this is her, it's a little baby, that's her dad, and then all of a sudden G-Day hits. The coffee cup starts flying. Dad sort of realises what's going on. His wife, her mum, has just gone out for a jog, and bad things are going to happen. And you'll see that the dad goes after the baby. She's okay, she's indoors, and the mum floats off. Then you flash forward to a couple of decades in the future. Willa is fully adapted to the world. I like they draw along because there's less gravity, so people tend to be longer and taller in zero gravity from space. I'm guessing that's an inspiration for it anyway. We've got a friend, he's got no legs, but that doesn't make any difference in a zero-G world. And she's working as a courier, so sort of the equivalent of a bike messenger. There are still gangsters, there are still people who want to do bad things, but there's certain things you've got to get used to, which is if you've got a gun, there's no gravity to hold you in place while you fire it, so you're a bit of a fool if you fire a gun. You can go flying off. You get all these sort of nice little touches. Look, everything's up in the atmosphere that just floated off on G-Day. You've got people who have these harnesses to keep themselves tethered. That's her dad because he's gone slightly paranoid. And you just get this really nice bit of world building, all while the story's being told to you as well. There are rich people, that's a former scientific associate of her dad. They wear magnetic shoes that keep them down, so they live a better quality of life. And they kind of like the new status quo. There are other things that have changed, such as a storm. You don't get clouds, you just get this big sort of bubble of water floating round, and it's very, very dangerous for people. You have to go inside if there's a storm, because if you get caught up in the water, you can't swim out of it. And what happens is she ends up going on a bit of a quest to find the answer for zero gravity, which her dad discovered. Got to be careful how I word this because I don't want to give away any spoilers as to what the answer is. But she goes off on this quest. Her friend tags along. He's actually a sort of rich kid from high society, sort of slumming it with her and her friends. They go on the run, and the business associate we mentioned earlier is after them. You got this lovely change of scenery here, so they end up on a monorail train that gets stopped in the jungle and woods, and what you find is people then get picked off by these giant insects, because insects are only limited by what they can eat and gravity it would turn out, and so they've grown to massive proportions. What you find is there are people who've adapted that they never even knew about, that taken the insects' wings, they use them as flight suits, and they've got this farm where they create all the food for people, which is from insects. Because they say, oh, we've been eating insects. They go, well, yeah, well, the cattle got killed by the insects years ago. What do you think you've been eating? And people have just never questioned the meat that's been turning up for them. Now, this is why I've got to be careful not to flip too far through the book, but essentially there's a way of weaponising these insects to attack cities that they use, and the people on this farm they would see themselves as freedom fighters, some would see them as terrorists, but they are looking to get the rich people who control the world and flip the balance of power. This is part of the story, but it's not the main part. A quest for finding the cure for zero G still exists. Now I'm going to stop here looking at the story, because there will be a reveal in the final issues that gives away the big twist. But let's just say it's a nice story, it's a complete story. It's not necessarily the twist you might think was coming. In the Mac you get some questions and answers, interviews, some art, some cover sketches, designs, the usual thing you would expect to find in this, some script pages as well. This whole book costs £24 at present. It's a really good buy for £24. Don't know if it's going to go out of print or not, but we'll talk about that in a moment. But I would say if you want a nice story, go get this. Okay, so that was the book. I think it is a great story. I think it's great that they gave it a proper ending, and that it is collected in this wonderfully put together book. Say it's got a great binding, brilliant art, and clearly a lot of care, effort and attention has gone into this story. I do like it when you get a full story. That is what these image books are so good at doing as well. They don't try and drag things out unnecessarily. 3 and done. That's fine with me. I'd say pick it up while you can. I don't know if it's the kind of book that will just go out of print and never get redone, but for 24 quid, great value. Let me know what you think about the story. If you read it, were you thinking of getting this? I would recommend you do if you like full stories, or you want something with a little bit of a sci-fi element but an adventure muddled in there as well. Let us know. Please feel free to like and subscribe. Check out the website and the Instagram if you want any updates on videos as they're posted, because I know YouTube's not very good at doing that. And thanks for watching.